we want the same thing. It's Mix Brunch on Hertfordshire's Mix 92.6, and right now it's back down to High Street in St Albans and Emma Lovell. Hi, Emma.
Hi, Nick. Hi. Yeah, still smiling from my wonderful chat with Tim Boatswain. It was just, honestly, I've never known a history lesson like it. It was just fascinating.
Fantastic. Well, are we all going to get a history lesson then?
Yes. Yeah. Do you know what? Yeah. But before we hear from Tim, I just want to tell you before I forget. So you know the Raindrops on Roses store, just in front of the clock tower. So next time you go in there, Nick, just before you enter, have a look at their shop front, because you'll see the remnants of an archway. And that used to be the archway where horse and carriage used to drive down to the cathedral. Did you? Yeah. How about that?
I did not.
So that's
know that.
that's every day's a school day. So I'm taking that one away with me, and
Excellent.
I will be exciting all my visitors to St Albans with that one.
Well, and
so there's plenty more from Tim.
I think that's part of this whole day, isn't it? Is kind of celebrating the history, and I know the St Albans tour guides are out as well to talk to people and so on. So you learn a lot, right?
I really do. Yeah, it's a great way to learn as well, isn't it? Actually, in person and just seeing these things for yourself. It's just wonderful.
All right. Well, let's hear from Tim now then.
Okay. All right. So, Nick, I am with Tim Boatswain, who is a really familiar figure in St Albans. I'm delighted to be with you today, especially today of all days, because it's such a special day for St Albans, Tim, isn't it?
It certainly is, Emma, and what a wonderful weather we're having. Actually, we're probably all baking, that's part of the trouble, yes. But it's a delight to be here, yes.
It really is. So, Tim, tell us about your many roles within St Albans.
Oh, well, when you retire, you often get roped in for many things. And I'm chair of the Blue Plaques. People will know about. We've been putting plaques up to famous St Albans people, and we're sitting on a bench here which we call the Peace Bench, which we put up when I was chair of Conservation 50, and it's on cathedral property, and it was really nice. The Dean came and blessed the bench. I've never seen a bench blessed before, so that was an extraordinary experience. But today I'm here because we're going to launch what we're calling a blue plaque sticker scheme. And the idea of this is it looks like a blue plaque, and it sticks in a shop window or a building, and it tells you what the building used to be and who owned it and so on. So we've taken as a trial George Street, and this has been run by an organisation called St Albans and District Heritage, chaired by someone called Bill Free. He's done a fantastic job with his colleagues, and they've done all the research on where the buildings were and who they were, and now we're going to launch these blue stickers so you can walk down George Street and see what shop was there and what inn was there and so on. And we'll have a little leaflet which has been funded here by the BID, the Business Improvement District. So you'll have a leaflet just to guide you through. So all of that's going to happen at 12:30.
Fantastic, and it just makes so much sense, doesn't it? Particularly for somewhere like St Albans, when there is so much history.
Absolutely, and George Street was, of course, one of the oldest streets. When they moved the road, they moved away from the Roman road to get pilgrims to come to the Abbey. They used to come up Holywell Hill, down High Street, down George Street, along Fishbowl Street, and then they'd link up again with the Roman road. So a lot of the buildings, particularly on the north side, where there was land, were stables and inns, where they could have their pack animals and then carriages and so on. All of that was rather killed off when the Verulam Road went through, bypassing George Street, and the railways came. So the carriages and the coaches stopped coming because you could get a bit further. And originally, St Albans was perfect. One day out from London to St Albans. But then, of course, with trains and everything, it all changed.
Right, yeah. And what a great day to choose to do it, because, we really are celebrating the history of St Albans, so it makes so much sense to do it today, doesn't it?
Well, absolutely. It's St Albans Day, and we'll have the parade coming through St Peter's Street and down George Street, and then a lot of activities this afternoon.
Wonderful. So if people aren't able to come today, will the plaques be up and available for the rest of the year?
Well, the stickers will be there as long as the owners of the property want them to be there. And the advantage of them is you don't need any planning permission. You can just put the sticker in the window, and it gives you very brief history of what that building was and why it was there.
Well, for someone that prefers to come into St Albans to admire the history rather than...
For example, one of the buildings at the bottom, number 16 George Street, had to be demolished at one point because it was causing a problem with the coaches passing each other. and they demolished the building.
So interesting, isn't it? Stories like that.
Things that you just never think of before. And of course, there's some of them are wonderful. Like, well, George Street gets its name from the George Inn, and of course the George Inn was a wonderful inn with stabling, and it used to have its own private post organisation going to London. You could get on the George Inn's coach.
Yeah, and as well as the blue plaques of today, there's also some guided tours as well, aren't there?
There'll be guided tours, and of course guided tours around St Albans, because there's so much history. It's really interesting. Bit of a hot day for doing it, but you learn so much.
Yeah,
you learn so much.
Exactly. Well, Tim, I could sit and listen to you chat about St Albans for so long, but and particularly on the Peace Bench. I mean, how special is that?
Well, this whole area is interesting because behind us is the Verdun tree. Now, Verdun was in a massive battle in the First World War, which was mainly between the French and the Germans. And when you look at the pictures, everything was completely flattened. But some trees survived. An oak tree and a chestnut tree survived. And back in the 1950s, a chestnut was given to St Albans by the Gardens, and that's that huge tree behind us. And then back when we were commemorating the end of the First World War in 1918, they put a bench next door here which has cutouts, metal cutouts of British soldiers, Tommies.
Yes.
And so we had this idea, wouldn't it be nice to have a peace bench? And if your listeners can't see it, of course, but we're sitting with a background of metal white doves.
Yes, it is.
Wouldn't it be nice to have some peace today? Oh.
Well, do you know, what's you doing next Saturday? Because I could join you again here every Saturday and listen to you. I think it will.
You have to remember this is Britain and the UK, and the weather can change overnight.
Not quite so predictable, but yeah, no, you're right. I think we probably need to get out of the sun. But thanks so much for your time, and so fascinating. And yeah, all the best for the launch today.
Thanks, Emma. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Emma, that was amazing, isn't it? Just the whole history lesson from Tim. That was brilliant. And so the blue plaque trail launched now down George Street as a kind of trial, right?
Yeah, I really plan to get down there in a little while, actually, because it's just, I mean, it's fantastic, isn't it? Because there is so much history in the city, and to be able to, really, bring that to anyone that's visiting and sort of heading down that way, just to show us, how those shops, once were used, or, some of the history around that area. I'm really interested.